All right, let's do a quick audio check. Let's see if I can get a thumbs up there from the Butte office there. Awesome. Helena? All right, Great Falls. All right, we got 3 here minimum, so I think we're pretty good here for everyone across the board. Well, happy July, everyone. Unbelievable. Our summer's moving by very quickly, and hope everyone's enjoyed their summer and had a good year here in the midst of all the other stuff that we have with the midst of a pandemic and all the other stuff that's happening. It's been a beautiful summer with no smoke, so we're thankful for that. All right, so let's get started. Got a lot to cover today. Thanks again to Grace Greer for putting together our beautiful presentation. We'll start off with our positive focus in Bozeman. So we'll have Bozeman report first, their positive focus.
Can you hear me?
Gotcha.
Okay, yeah, so in Bozeman, we have a big job for the fairs job. And then we also are getting busier on our mitigation. And Stephanie's doing a great job out there doing BD stuff for us.
Excellent. What about in Butte?
Butte, we have around 350,000 in repairs contracted and probably another 150 to be contracted in repairs. So we're just really busy and happy to be so.
It's great. Great to hear. Great Falls.
Our positive focus would have to be, I think, the way we handled the small surge event we had at the beginning of the month. We've been through that kind of thing up here before, and it felt like we didn't know what we were doing, but this time it felt very smooth, like we could do 20 jobs a day, no matter what day it was. I'm really happy with the crew, with the way the crew handled that this time around.
I'd like to echo that. I was up there in the midst of some of that mini surge and saw the crew in action doing that. Did an awesome job, and I concur with that statement. So good job, Josh. On to Helena. I think you guys are muted. I'm going to unmute you and Helena. I think I'm going to unmute you and Helena.
Trying to do it too.
Oh, there you go. You guys are good.
So in Helena, I just got to give a tip of the cap to the whole team. We had a really profitable June. I'm really impressed with, how they're following processes. The whole team just did a great job. And it's been really a blessing to work with each and every one of them. And just going back to the Great Falls crew, while they did an awesome job at the beginning of the month with the large amount of work that came in, even though it was a bunch of small stuff, I got to agree with Josh, they reacted well. And Josh, I know, just recently contracted probably somewhere in the neighborhood of about 175 grand in new repair jobs in the last week too. So kudos to them.
Oh, great. That's awesome. Good job, Josh. All right. Popping up to Kalispell.
So, for our positive focus, Mark, I'd have to say that API, again, sorry to keep bringing up the same thing, but we're about 9 weeks into this, maybe heading for 10, and we're 85% complete, and it's gone off without any hiccups or complications. The team has pulled together. They've done a great job helping out wherever needed. All of our subs have been amazing. Everybody involved is happy, and it's just been a win-win.
Yeah, so that loss, just so Jerry, you can have that for your positive focus for every month for the rest of the year if you want. That is such a great success up there. That job is a great success, and kudos to you and your team for executing that job up there. I was I'm trying to remember, it must have been about 3 weeks I was up there. The progress you all have made and in that project is just incredible, and especially for construction in Montana. So well done to all the Kalispell team on that loss. Last to Missoula.
you hear me, Mark?
Yep. Well, I can hear you now. That there's some sort of delay on the mute and unmute.
Yeah, no, this is Sam. Chris asked me to do our positive focus, but I
Okay,
think
thanks, Sam.
I think our positive focus for Missoula would probably just be some of the prospective large projects that we've got coming down the pipeline here. We've had the opportunity to work on 2 pretty big fires. And then with everything potentially with the MHA coming up here, it's just kind of a positive focus for us is these big projects that we're going to have the opportunity to potentially put our hands in and be able to work with as a team. It's kind of exciting for us here in Missoula.
Yeah, I have some real big opportunities, which is great. So excellent on that front as well. Right. Thanks everyone for our positive reminders there. Lots to be thankful for across the system. Continuing with the positive theme, we want to move right into our CARE Awards for the month of July. And starting in the East here again, we've got Dee, our winner here in Bozeman, and I believe that the person presenting that is Miguel. Is that right? Is Miguel presenting that, Ken?
Yes.
All right.
Good morning, Mark and everybody.
We hear you loud and clear, Miguel. Thank you.
So I love to see when the crews takes pride in what they do, and this is the case with Deidre. She's usually one of the first ones that arrives on site at the office, and she always has a great attitude. You can see it in her picture there with a great smile. And I know that the team gets along pretty well, and that's also a good positive thing to have when you go to work day after day, to have good co-workers to rely on. So that's why, and some of the things that we see on her, that she's always taking pride on everything that she does. Sometimes she's working by herself, and that doesn't stop her from doing a job well done.
Awesome, Miguel. Thank you. Dee is, I can confirm, Dee is always doing her job with a smile on her face. She's very adaptive. One day I went out to the contents area and Dee was listening to some really, really loud heavy metal while she was doing her work out there. And then the next day I went out there and she was listening to country. And it was like this huge spectrum. And I thought, you know, this is someone that can handle really fine china probably on one hand and then, you know, clean toys the next day. So Dee, thank you for, I don't mean to embarrass you there. I know you were a little embarrassed, but I thought that was a great story. But anyway, thanks for all you're doing for us, Dee. Glad to have you on our team. All right, going to the Central, we got in Great Falls, Glenn Sebastian. Well, I think that Josh is presenting this one.
Yep.
Yeah, it is.
That is a great picture.
I'm so proud of my portrait abilities.
We so Grace asked, she said, hey, would it be okay if next time we have a company party, if we just had someone that did portraits there at the whole company party? So we're going to do that too.
You know, my iPhone can only do so much with these guys.
Yeah.
So I nominated Glenn because he showed a tremendous amount of passion or compassion recently when one of his neighbors came to him with a problem he was having with a claim with ServPro. I don't believe his neighbor knew that Glenn worked for Dayspring or what Dayspring did at the time. But Glenn mentioned that, hey, this is the same kind of thing that we do, and I think you should call Josh and get him in there and get our opinion on what needs to happen at your house. So his neighbor was dealing with ServPro at the time, and ServPro didn't really treat him all that well, and he was having a lot of problems with State Farm as well, as far as, you know, just an idea of how this is supposed to work. So I went in there last week, and even though my estimate was probably 2 to 3 times higher than ServPro's, we're going to end up contracting the work because he felt Dayspring will treat him a lot better than the service he's been getting so far. So I want to thank Glenn for helping his neighbor in need in that time. So he's doing a great job.
That's awesome, Glenn. Thank you for the referral and helping us bring that job in, and then most importantly, helping us execute that job. Great success there. I think in fairness to Glenn, when they took this picture, they said, Glenn, we just had our 18th water loss today. And that was a look of bewilderment for the mini surge. All right, moving on to Kalispell. We actually had several nominees here in the month of July for Kevin Miller. So Jerry and Sam are both going to speak to why Kevin was nominated for the West.
So this Jerry, I nominated Kevin for his success. He come into Dayspring about a year ago, never had been in this industry or field, never experienced anything like this. And every task we put in front of Kevin, he just picks up and runs with it. He's been an amazing asset to me and to Dayspring, I feel. He overcomes any hurdle. He goes out his way to help everybody. He's very likable. He's kind. He's considerate. He doesn't think of himself as most people do. And I want Kevin to know that I really appreciate that, and that I hope he sticks with us and we get to have a long career together.
Very good. Sam, did you want to speak to this as well?
Yeah, when I saw Jerry's nomination come in for Kevin, I just kind of wanted to second it up. Just with helping the Kalispell office more over the past couple of months as I have been, I've just seen how much Kevin's grown and just really started to show how big of an asset he is within our company, and I wanted to make sure he got recognized for it.
Very good. All right, to all three of our CARE Award winners here for July, Dee, Glenn, and Kevin, let's give them all a big hand. Thank you for what you're doing to help make Dayspring a great place to work, a great company in our communities. We appreciate all of you and what you do. All right, so continuing on, we have actually quite a few little announcements here to talk about. First of all, just a COVID-19 update. I know some people here on this call are probably at a point where they don't want to talk about COVID-19 anymore, but it's continuing to be a reality that we have to deal with in our communities and in our company as well. And so in that context, there's really two things that we just wanted to give an update on. The first is that we do get from time to time questions from folks about two things really. The first is, I think I might have been exposed to someone who has COVID. And then the second is, I think I might have some symptoms that are like COVID. And what do I do next? And what we have been looking into here this week is really trying to determine, does it make sense for us to have a very specific black and white policy about this? And how do we want to guide our employees, and how do we want to help them when they have these sort of questions? And unfortunately, in each community, we have varying levels of COVID. We have also a very broad spectrum within our number of employees. We have some people who are in an at-risk category and some people who are not as susceptible or at risk as well. And so our determination is that we are going to handle these situations all on a case-by-case basis. And so when you have a situation where you think that one of those two issues applies to you, either by you having potentially been exposed or thinking that you perhaps have symptoms that could be COVID-19 symptoms, you need to go to the regional manager. We have kind of some various questions we want to ask so that we can do two things. We want to first of all make sure that we protect the safety of the employees in our company, number one, and number two, we want to make sure that we protect the safety of our customers. And so with that, those two priorities, we also want to just ask everyone to remember our core value of compassion. So that applies to us in that we need to be thoughtful and compassionate, regardless of where your perspective is about COVID-19. We want you to remember and to be compassionate toward your other team member and toward our customer. And some of the ways that you can be especially mindful or conscientious if it relates to either of those two categories, customers or coworkers, is if you think you've been exposed, or if you think maybe that you have some symptoms, but you don't know, and you're in that process of trying to figure out where that is, make sure that at that point you're especially mindful about the things of keeping distance. You know, they are, the more information we get about this, the more certain it seems that close human contact is how this is most easily transmitted. So you make sure you just kind of keep distance. And regardless of your feeling of masks, I know there's a lot of strong opinions about masks. If you think you might have COVID, or you think you might have been exposed to COVID, you're really doing a favor to everyone else if you're making sure that you're wearing a mask to spread those microscopic droplets that could infect other people. So that's how we want to handle this stuff. What we don't want you to do is go immediately to Jody. If you think one of those two criteria are in place, Jody's plate is very, very full right now. And we want to handle this really at the local level. And then once they have the information and understand how we're going to deal with it, then it can be escalated if needed. Okay. If you have questions, feel free to reach out to a regional manager to get more information about that. Speaking of masks, I think probably everyone at this point has received one of the Dayspring branded masks. We have more of those coming, and hopefully more coming that are a bit smaller. I know some of those were just way too big for some people. So we'll hopefully have some smaller ones as well. But we want to remind you of two things. One is the governor's latest directive that was passed down on the 15th of July requires that masks are worn in indoor spaces. And so the indoor space especially applies when you're going into either restaurants or supply chain stores or any place where you are going to be during the course of your work, or when you are representing Dayspring. You need to make sure that you are wearing your mask. Again, this is something that I think a lot of people find very burdensome and difficult, and we understand that, we sympathize with that. But we want to make sure that we're not unnecessarily either inflaming or causing problems where we don't need to cause problems with the general public. And so I know that some people have seen things around where it says, you might see signage that says, you know, if you're not wearing a mask, we're going to assume that you have a medical condition or so forth. That's when you're not wearing Dayspring attire, you're not representing Dayspring, that's entirely your choice. But when you're representing Dayspring, we need to have every employee, every team member utilizing and wearing masks. And again, we all look forward to the period of time when this directive's not in place and we don't have this requirement. But for now, it's what we have, it's what we deal with. And I remind everyone that, again, regardless of your opinion about it, if it keeps people from getting sick, even if it kept just a small amount of people from getting sick, it's probably worth us doing it. And we can remember our core value of compassion in that as we adhere to and follow the directive that the governor required. For the next item we have, as far as an announcement, I'm going to turn over to our tropical employee who's got, looks like he's in Maui. And so our assets and logistics manager, Tim Malone's going to talk about an out of service process that we want to use for our equipment in our individual locations. So Tim, go ahead.
Good morning, everyone. One of the areas of opportunity we've identified is if we have broken equipment out on a job and it gets brought back to the store or to the branch, it isn't always identified as to what's wrong with it. So to help reduce the time in troubleshooting, each one of the branches will have these tags you can see in the slide sent out. They'll be arriving, I would suspect, in the next week from Alpha Graphics. And what we ask is that if you have an issue with a piece of equipment out on the job, fill out the tag completely. Give the very best description you can as to what the problem that the equipment is experiencing. The backside also has additional writing space. The tags will be 3 inches by 5 inches. And then report the broken equipment to your supervisor, and we can repair it and get it back on job site as soon as possible.
Thanks.
Appreciate all your help.
Thank you, Tim. I know that for everyone, one of the greatest frustrations is equipment that's not working for you. We want to minimize that as much as we can. Make sure you guys have the tools you need to do your job. So this will just be a tool in helping us accomplish that. Last week we talked about fishing, and of course we're not talking about the other recreational pursuit that Tim has in fishing for brown trout or other trout here in Montana, but rather a fishing that happens with email. And this has just become an incredibly prevalent issue and things that is increasingly troublesome. And so what we want is to give you guys some information. We'll be, I think Grace is going to be able to send this stuff out to you as well, to be able to make sure that there is a lot of understanding as to what we want to eliminate or to minimize from our company with respect to emails that are suspicious. So last month we talked about making sure that we follow 2 steps that are really, really important. The first is don't ever open attachments or follow links that you do not expect. So if someone sends you an attachment that says there's a shipping tracking information enclosed, right? Or an important file. It may even look like it's from someone in the company. If you're not expecting it, please don't open it. That's how we end up having these problems. The second thing is any sort of request that you have, always verify it with a phone call. Someone sends you an email and says, hey, I need you to send me information. Like, let's say you got an email supposedly from our accounting department that says, hey, could you send us, we need to verify your social security number. Could you please send it to us? And it says that that's from someone in our accounting department. Please verify that. Make sure that they actually need that information. That's how people have been taking advantage of these situations, is they're making it look like it's even from someone in our company. There's a few other tips in here to follow. Things like when you get an email that just sounds a little strange, you get a request and you're like, man, that's a little odd. I've never had a request like that before. You should immediately be having your antenna stick up and get very curious as to what is happening. One of the things you can also do is just check those email addresses. It may say that it's from Mark Springer, but if you click on it and it's not from mark@dayspringrestoration.com and the email address, it's not from me. There's all sorts of people who will use ways to shadow sender addresses to make it look like it's from someone who it's not, okay? So again, there's a number of tips that you can be aware of. Be aware of attachments, be aware of logins, and be aware of links. All 3 of these things, please don't click on them. Please don't follow them. Make sure that anything you are doing with email is specifically what you intended or what you expected. If it's not in that, then make sure that you are really, really careful. Any of these kind of emotions that are put in here that says you've gotten something that you're going to get for free. If a person from Africa says, I have $1 million that I need to deposit in your account, you should be really, really suspicious. Anything that makes you sound, that sounds scary, like you've been notified by the IRS for an audit, you should be really, really concerned, really, really suspicious of those sort of things. So if you think that you have something that has happened and you've been receiving a phishing email, make sure that you get a hold of Nicole. I think everyone knows how to get a hold of Nicole. Here's her contact information, so you can reach out to her and report anything that looks really weird or really suspicious. All right, next item we want to talk about is Transformation Tuesday. So Transformation Tuesday is a campaign that we are using on social media. We're using this on Instagram. We're using it on each branches, local branches, Facebook feeds as well for all 6 locations. Really helps us anytime if you see a Transformation Tuesday coming up, if you follow whichever local branch you're in. If you give us a like or you give us a share, it helps us spread the word on these. And we just wanted to give a few tips and an incentive for you to help us really show the great stories about the work that you all are doing. You know, we have so many projects that are so incredible. We take over some of these projects where these places are just a disaster, and we completely restore them, and we want to share that story. We want to talk about what that is in the community. Well, first of all, we want to share, if we're going to do these Transformation Tuesdays, it all hinges on us being able to have great photos. So here is, and we're going to be sending this out to each branch as well, so you guys have it. Here's some tips that you can have for making sure that you have great pictures. It's hard for us to do these when the pictures are really grainy or they're bad perspective. And so we want to talk about a few things that you can do. And here's the great news about this, folks, is if you use these photo tips, not only will they make your job site photos better, but any photo that you take will improve dramatically, even if it's just of your kid's birthday or when you're out you know, on a hike in nature. So again, you don't have to worry about reading all of these, but they're ones that we think will really, really help you. So take a look here at these two pictures. We've got a picture on the left and a picture on the right. You can tell this picture on the left, we got the guy standing in front of, looks like maybe some sort of ancient ruins or something. That's kind of the typical picture that most people would take. The picture on the right is a picture that is composed much better, looks like a professional picture. That picture is using what's called the rule of thirds. And how you can look at this and how it's really important for us is by making sure whatever subject you have in the picture that you're taking aligns on the corner, in the intersection of these lines that you can imagine your camera screen divided into three pieces. So you have a third going left to right and a third going top to bottom. And in this picture on the right, you can see that the subject is aligned on the intersection of one of these points. The guy here on the left, he's just in the center of the frame. That makes for a really boring picture and one that doesn't show very well if we decide to use it on social media. So here's the difference kind of in the before and after. You can see one's in the middle, and most of us do this all the time. We just fill up our screen, make sure that whatever we have is in the middle, and then snap it. This is really the difference of the rule of thirds. And again, if you start using this in any pictures that you take, you'll find that your pictures dramatically improve. Next thing is perspective, okay? In perspective, we talk about where is the place that we're taking the picture from to make it interesting. You can see the picture on the left isn't really all that interesting. It's just kind of taken from what would be expected or what would be normal. The one here on the right, this after, shows a much more interesting perspective and one that's certain to get a lot more attention when it's posted on some sort of place like social media. Now, why is all this important? We want to give each of you an opportunity to make a little extra money here, up to $100 for helping us with Transformation Tuesday. Here's what we need for Transformation Tuesday. We're going to show you exactly what we want. We want a before, during, and after picture from the job site. So perfect world, we have a nasty fire loss. We'd have a before picture that shows the severe, awful damage that a customer might experience after disasters happen. The during is really after demo. We want to show, okay, let's say it's a kitchen fire. We've got this burned up kitchen. The during picture might show all the demolition complete. It's the raw canvas we start of before we get to the reconstruction, which is the after. Now, one of the things that's important about the after is we don't want just after pictures that show an empty house that has fresh carpet in it and freshly painted walls. We want it to look like a job would be at the end of the process that we complete, which would include the room fully restaged and back to the place that the customer is living in it. The next piece we want here to fulfill this item we want for Transformation Tuesday is a short video testimonial. Now, these are just a customer discussing the loss that they had in their experience working with Dayspring. We don't want 5-minute video testimonials. The perfect video testimonial would be 20 seconds. It would go something like this. We worked with Dayspring when we had a fire loss. They totally transformed our home. The word transformation in there would be really great. Totally transformed our home, and working with them was a very positive experience because they did exactly what they said they were going to do. That would be a perfect video testimonial. Another thing that we would like to have is a few pictures and or videos of Dayspring employees working on a job site. These are action photos. We want more action photos of you guys doing work. Photos where we have a before picture or a during picture or even an after picture where there's no people in the photo is super boring. So if we have an after photo where people are packing contents back in, we have a during photo where demo crews are out doing demo, those are the awesome pictures we're really looking for. Okay. So follow the tips that Grace has there for taking better photos, and then include your name when you send this in. If you have someone that you're splitting this with, we'll pay up to $100 per job, not $100 per person. So if you had someone else that you collaborate with, would give you each 50 bucks. If you had 3 people, would give you each $33.33. No, I think it's pretty specific. But anyway, what we'll do is we'll pay up to $100 per job, which can get split up if need be, or if one person just owns it and gets all the information. There's where you can text your information to. That is Grace's cell phone number. We'd love to have like 30 different people send these in to us so that we can use them, because they're really, really important for us to be able to talk about all the efforts that we take in our communities to do the work that we do. All right, here is an example of what Grace would like to see for a good entry. You'd say, hi, this is who this is, so we know who needs to get the bonus incentive. Here's the job site that we have with the job number, before, during, and after. That's perfect, shows us exactly what things look like. Here's photos, Claudia, you probably remember that one from last week. Out there, here's some great action on the job site. Great video testimonial that we have here, someone talking about a job. We're not going to have the volume. Here's action video. Claudia's in action out on a job site doing some, cutting some miter cuts at, I think it was a Ziegler loss there. Here's another photo of just Dayspring being at the job. These are all the sort of things that really help us in telling this story. Folks, I'm sorry that we went just a couple minutes over. I hope you have a great day, almost Friday, tomorrow. We appreciate everyone and your efforts to make Dayspring a great company. Again, congratulations to Dee, Glenn, and Kevin. Grace has cards here ready for me to mail out to you for your bonus for being the Care Award winners for the month of July. Thank you for what you do. Everyone have a great week. Be safe, and don't forget your mask.
Yeah.